Whoosh. And look at all this stuff I'm standing on. It's called sand, and it's everywhere.
This woman may sound silly to you and me.
It's made up of little tiny pieces of rocks. Teeny little pieces of rocks.
But to her 2-year-old son exploring the world around him, she makes perfect sense.
How does it feel when you touch the sand? Is it warm? Uh-huh. It's hard to hold in your hand, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Learning starts long before school does, and children are naturally curious. They want to learn, so follow their lead. Take simple, everyday moments like sorting laundry or playing on the beach and turn them into learning moments.
Is this water?
No.
Very good. This is sand. Oh, no, it's not food. It's sand. We don't eat sand.
Turn everyday moments into learning moments. Find out how at bornlearning.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's me, your piggy bank. Remember when you were a little kid? All the dimes and quarters in my back? Yeah, that was good times. Good times. Now lately, I gotta be honest, you've been ignoring me. Money's been slipping through your hands like a greased pig. Get it? Because Anyway, I know how it is. Now that you get a real paycheck, it's nice to have stuff. You'll start saving money next year. Well, I hate to tell you, but good saving habits start now. Put just $20 in the bank a month. Make your own coffee at home instead of that latte every morning. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering in. Those changes alone could save you thousands of dollars a year. Come on, I'm your piggy bank. We can be together again, me and you, the special times. Anyway, if you don't want me to cry anymore, feed me. Go to feedthepig.org for more ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
The Rich Eisen Show.
I've never watched a game with anybody who can see it before it happens. You witnessed it? Sure, over and over. They would break the huddle and go, this is an interception. I'm like, how do you know that? And then it happens, and you're like, what the hell?
You guys act like Tony Romo doesn't exist.
TJ, I don't know. Here we go. Let's take a break. We're back on the Rich Eisen Show. Read your phone calls.
Richie. The Rich Eisen Show from noon to 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, and on Disney Plus. Amber and Ian.
I was surprised that there were Steelers players who were surprised, because that was the article that we have right now on ESPN.com, where apparently inside linebacker Peyton Wilson, he admitted that he was a little shocked when he showed up to the facility and ran into Aaron Rodgers.
Last year you showed up in late June, so maybe he was surprised that it was this early.
There you go.
Not
I
that
guess.
late.
Amber and Ian. Weeknights at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Your home for Richmond Spiders athletics all year round. W291CL Lakeside Richmond. WURV HD2 Richmond. We are 106.1 ESPN.
Start your morning right with Ironclad Coffee Roasters and Baking Company, the official coffee of Fitz the Bill and ESPN Richmond. They have fresh artisan pastries made from scratch daily in their own in-house bakeries to go along with some of the best coffee in RVA. 3 locations, one in Shockoe Bottom, one in the West End, and one in Lynchburg. Check them out too online at ironcladcoffee.com. Fitz the Bill is powered by Ironclad Coffee Roasters and Baking Company each and every morning.
Richmond, it's time to get your morning going. Spicy Mom.
We are going to wreak havoc.
Only thing I am thinking about is the game.
Holy catfish! Touchdown, payoff.
Rashid Shaheed.
Richmond Sports Talk by Richmond sports fans.
This is Fitz the Bill with Jack Fitzpatrick.
All live from the capital of the Commonwealth.
Where sharp analysis, your cause, and Richmond always come first.
If it's making headlines locally or nationally, we're breaking it down. Now, live from the capital of the Commonwealth, Fitz the Bill with your host, Jack Fitzpatrick.
Good Thursday morning. Appreciate you clocking in, making us part of your day right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond, ESPN Richmond app, ESPNRichmond.com. Right here on this Thursday morning. It is a beautiful Thursday morning walking into the studio. I love the temperature because it's starting to get a little chillier. And as a guy who doesn't love the heat, didn't necessarily love all of the heat that we had, it's time to talk a little ACC football, though, because as the weather starts to get a little cooler, it starts to feel a little bit more like football weather. So we had the official ACC preseason poll come out about 48 hours ago, 72 hours ago. And this is the official ACC preseason poll. It's the predicted order of finish based off of all of the media members who are in attendance at ACC kickoff, their votes, because we all get ballots at the end of ACC kickoff, giving our own predictive order of finish. We get to vote on preseason player of the year. We get to vote on a ton of different stuff. And so what I want to do to kick off this Thursday edition of Fitz the Bill, it's quite simple. What I want to do on this Thursday is look at the predicted order of finish, what it officially is, and how it compares to my ACC predicted order of finish. And I will say one thing off of the jump. I was looking at the deltas, not to get too nerdy with this, but the difference in what the official media rank is and what my rank is. There's a couple of teams I am wildly different than consensus, Dan. One is Stanford. Stanford, I have a 6 rank difference in, and that's my biggest outlier. Media has them ranked dead last, except for the one person who voted Stanford first. Media's got them 17 out of 17. My 17th team, a little peek behind the curtain, it's UNC. We'll get to why in just a little bit. But I've got Stanford 11th. So that's my biggest delta, 6-spot difference. Then my second biggest difference is Clemson. I am much lower on the Clemson Tigers than what the media is. Media has them 4. The overall consensus has them 4th. I have them 9th. That is a 5-spot difference. But real quick, we'll recap the top 10 in the ACC predicted order of finish, the official one based off of all of the votes from media members in attendance at ACC kickoff. Number 1 is Miami. Number 2 is SMU. Number 3 is Louisville. Number 4 is Clemson. And number 5 is Georgia Tech. 6 through 10 is UVA, NC State, Virginia Tech, Pitt, and Duke. Now, in that top 10, I got a couple of the same ones. Miami, SMU, those are same. Duke, that's where I have them as well in my preseason poll. But outside of that, some moving and shaking and some real differences. But let's start at 10 with Duke, because Duke is a team that's coming off of an ACC title, right? Like, this is a Blue Devils team that quite literally just won the ACC championship. Then, of course, the tiebreaker rules were changed. That was announced at ACC kickoff 2 weeks ago. On the very first day, Jim Phillips, ACC commissioner, took to the podium and said, you know what? We are changing these tiebreaker rules because they're a little asinine, right? They're a little weird. They're a little outdated. And Duke just so happened to benefit from it. But Duke's benefit actually hurt the ACC in the long run, because if you think about it, if Duke hadn't been in that game and it had been UVA and Miami, I'm just pulling names out of the hat. I'm just trying to guess what team could be in there, right? If it had been UVA and Miami, there's a stronger chance that the ACC could have potentially gotten 2 college football playoff teams in. But full stop, I will say, I think UVA has to have their feet to the fire a little bit with that entire championship scenario last year, because if UVA had won, ACC likely would have gotten UVA and Miami in. UVA was favored, UVA should have won, and UVA couldn't win. And Duke, they got to be the ACC champion. And now they're coming into this year, they're 10th. I mean, this is a team that likely will regress. They were plus 10 in turnovers last season, yet they were minus 19 in yards allowed. So, like, that's kind of concerning, right? That defense was kind of getting got at a pretty high clip, and that worries me. At number 9 is where I have Clemson, because Clemson is the definition of insanity. It's what we talk about with Mike Tomlin, Sean McDermott, all of these guys that I've called for their jobs, and they've magically gotten fired. I swear, at least I don't think I have special powers, but Clemson is the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And for some reason, the media keeps falling for the same tricks. Clemson hasn't really been the Clemson we've expected for quite some time, right? Like, even in 2024, they got to double-digit wins, but they still had 4 losses. Last season, they were 7-6. They inspired no joy in me. They weren't a fun team to watch. They were kind of boring to watch. They did finish the season on a 4-game win streak, then got boat raced as a 2.5 point favorite in the Pinstripe Bowl. They lost to Penn State 22-10. So some of that momentum that they had garnered with their Florida State win, at Louisville win, which was a ranked win, Furman, FCS opponent, and out South Carolina, those 4 wins kind of lost some of the momentum heading into the 2026 season with that Penn State loss in the Pinstripe Bowl. But then what'd they do going out in this offseason in the portal? Nothing. They get their quarterback, Chris Vezina. He's been on the bench behind Cade Klubnik the last couple of years, just kind of waiting his turn. He's a junior with no real experience as a starting quarterback. That's who they're going with instead of a transfer. And Dabo Swinney took to the podium and talked about how we aren't going after shiny objects. And if this doesn't work, we're going to get raked over the coals. They are going to get raked over the coals because I just don't see how this Clemson team is able to build upon last season. You didn't really bring anyone in of note. You returned 5 starters on the offensive side from last year's squad. You returned 5 starters from this Clemson team on the defensive side going into this year. You're 86.2% homegrown, according to Phil Steele, number 1 rank in the ACC, 7th in the nation. You're homegrown. I just don't see how this team, who didn't make any wholesale changes, is now all of a sudden going to go from a middling pack ACC team and make that jump to be in the top 3, top 4 yet again, because that's what the media is thinking. The media has them 4th, and Clemson got 7 first-place votes. What have they done? Look, even going back to 2021, 3 losses in 2021, 3 losses in 2022, a 9-4 campaign in 2023, a 10-4 campaign last season, and a 7-6 year in 2025. Where does that tell you first-place ACC? Where does that inspire a ton of joy that this team is going to have an absolute bounce back? If anything, the signs are trending down. And so I'm jumping off Clemson 100%. I've got them 9th. 8th, I've got Georgia Tech. I'm 3 spots off. The media consensus has them checking in at 5 with 2 first-place votes. I don't know. I just don't feel all that comfortable in Georgia Tech. I think there are teams that are poised for better seasons because of their schedule, like Pitt, which Pitt is a team that I've got 5th. But Georgia Tech, you look at what they've got. They're at Virginia Tech, at Pitt, home against Louisville, at Clemson, and they finish out the year at Georgia. I know that's not an ACC game, but that's not going to do them any favors in the win-loss column. Plus, they've got a new quarterback. Now their new quarterback is, I got to say it, former JMU commit Alberto Mendoza, brother of, you guessed it, Fernando Mendoza. Exactly. But you've got a new quarterback there. How do you replace Haynes King? That's the biggest question of it all. You've got returning production at the running back spot, but a big question mark with a sophomore quarterback in Alberto Mendoza. So I've got them 8th. I'm 3 spots lower on Georgia Tech than the rest of the consensus. Louisville, I'm low on Louisville. I've got them 7th. And it feels like this one is more so that I just like the teams ahead of them more than I dislike Louisville. Because whenever you're filling out these ballots, it's typically like, I like this team, I want to put them there. I like this team, I'm going to put them 3rd. I like this team, I'm going to put them 5th. And then you're sitting there and you're like, well, it's not that I don't have faith in Louisville. It's just that I like these other teams more, right? Like Louisville with the quarterback that doesn't necessarily have the name-popping marquee type of draw like they had with Miller Moss a year ago. You look at their 9-4 season last season, and they kind of got hit with an injury bug pretty hard late. Like it looked like they were going to be rolling, right? They upset Miami in Miami 24-21 as a 13.5-point underdog. They used that to get a win at Boston College, a win at Virginia Tech. Then they just stumbled down the stretch as injuries kind of rack up. An OT loss to Cal at home, a 1-point loss to Clemson at home, a massive loss at SMU, 38-6, and they limp into their bowl game, which was the Boca Raton Bowl, which didn't really, it's just, I don't know about Louisville. And so I've got them 7th. I'm 4 spots lower on them. It's more so a question of, I feel like I know more about these other teams, or the other teams' schedules pair up a little bit better than Louisville, who opens the season in Nashville against Ole Miss. Their first ACC game for Louisville is SMU. They've got a date at NC State. They're also at Georgia Tech, and they finish out with a dark horse pick that I like in Pitt. It's number 6. I'm 2 spots higher on Virginia Tech than the general consensus. Virginia Tech is a team that I have waffled on a little bit because I've been questioning, right? Like, how important is this season in Blacksburg? And like, yes, I know you want to win games, but what do I mean by how important is this season? I mean, like, do they need a bowl? Do they need to be in the ACC title conversation? Do they just need to show signs of life and positive signs moving into the 2027 season? I've gone back and forth on it all. For a while, I was like, well, they need to be in the ACC title talk. Then I thought, well, they just need to show signs of life. They need to show positive growth. If you're expecting anything more, that's on you. You're the crazy one. But as I've gotten outside of that media bubble that I think we sometimes find ourselves in, and the Hardo fans, because look, we all love sports. It's tough sometimes when you're talking to other Hardo fans and Hardo sports fans. You've just got a different perception of how things work. So I kind of got outside of that bubble and I talked to just general fans, general friends of mine who are alums of Virginia Tech who loosely follow along football. And after last season, they're like, we're kind of done with this. They're starting to get a little bit more buy-in and they're excited about James Franklin. But something they've all kind of said is, well, I want to win a lot of football games. And like, we need at least 8 wins or more. And so that's where I've kind of landed on it. This needs to not only be a season where they show signs of life, but this also needs to be a season where they rack up some wins. And this schedule early on for Virginia Tech gives them the opportunity to rack up some wins. You open the season up against VMI. That should be a very easy dub. Then you're home against ODU. You've got to exercise the demons of last year against Old Dominion. You've got to win that game. At Maryland on September 19th, I'll be honest, a Mike Locksley squad in the month of September, always tough. Now, if you'd gotten that Maryland squad in the month of October or November, probably would have won, but that's a relatively tough game. September 26th, you're on the road at Boston College. You've got to be careful of that Chestnut Hill showdown because Boston College might actually be a feisty team. Then after that 2-game road trip, you're back home for a Friday night game against Pitt, at Cal, Georgia Tech, at Clemson. I think Georgia Tech should be a worse team than Virginia Tech. Clemson should be a worse team than Virginia Tech. Cal, definitely a worse team than Virginia Tech. Pitt, home. That should be an electric. That's your first ACC night game in the James Franklin era. Should be electric. You look at that stretch, and I only see maybe 1 loss, maybe 2 losses, and then you head into your bye week on October 31st, and then you finish out the year at SMU, Stanford, at Miami on a Friday night, and then you finish out the season against UVA. I think that opening stretch will give them a lot of W's, and they need to, because if they don't rack up the wins, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? 804-327-0888, the Radke Insurance phone line, text line. It's open here on this Thursday morning. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Virginia Tech early on in this season, that opening stretch heading into that first bye week, they've got to rack up the wins. I think they can only afford 1, maybe 2 losses in that first stretch because those final 4 games, I'm looking at maybe 2-2, 1-3, depending on how good UVA is. All right, number 5, I've got Pittsburgh. I'm 4 spots higher on Pitt, and it's for this simple reason. It's a reason I discovered when I was talking with Wes Durham of the ACC Network at ACC Kickoff. Pitt's schedule is just so easy. These are the ACC teams that Pitt has. Just let this sink in. Syracuse, Virginia Tech, UNC, Boston College, Miami, Georgia Tech, Florida State, at Louisville, at Cal. Cal is a team that's predicted to be 12th in the ACC poll. Boston College predicted to be 16th. Louisville's a tough one. They're predicted 3rd, of course. Syracuse, 14th. Virginia Tech, 6th. UNC, 15th. Like, they've got a lot of winnable games. They can get some nice wins in this ACC schedule. So I think they might shock some teams. There's always a team that shocks the ACC. Pitt fits the bill. And apologies for the pun there. They fits the bill on being the team that shocks the ACC this year. NC State, I've got 4th. I'm 3 spots higher than the general media consensus is on the Wolfpack. And it's because I drank the Kool-Aid on CJ Bailey, right? Like, I had Dave Dorn on my show, and he was like, I'm all in on CJ Bailey. He took the podium. He was all in on CJ Bailey. That's their junior quarterback who's going into year 3 as a starter. And like, he's put on weight. I'll be honest, between you and me real quick. I saw him walking around Radio Row and I was like, he's a lot smaller than I thought. And then Dave Doran sat down and said he's put on weight over the last year or two. And I was like, that's him putting on weight? The dude's tiny. Like 2 of him equals 1 of me. He's tall, but he's tiny. I digress. I still think he's going to be a really, 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 really good quarterback. I've actually got him pegged as a dark horse Heisman candidate. And if he plays up to those expectations, those dark horse Heisman expectations, right? I think this is an NC State squad that can really rattle off some wins. And that's why I've got him 4th. CJ, it's all about CJ Bailey. And this is a team that, according to Dave Doran, when I sat down with him at ACC kickoff, was ravaged by injury a year ago. So a lot of their guys have experience. They may not be quote unquote starters, but they've got some guys who have taken a lot of snaps across this team. So Dave Doran, I feel like he needs to break through, because if you look back over his time, this is his 14th year in Raleigh, 16th year overall. But you look since 2021, they have yet to have double-digit wins. 9-3 in 21, 8-5 in 22, 9-4 in 23. A down 6-7 year. They get 2 more wins in 2025, going 8-5 with wins against Florida State and UNC to finish out the season, and then a pretty massive Gasparilla Bowl win against a Memphis squad that was without a head coach at the time. I'm thinking CJ Bailey, Heisman type of season. I like NC State to be 4th in the ACC. 3rd, I've got Virginia, and I'm 3 spots higher on UVA than the general media consensus is for this reason. They've got an identity. They know what they want in the transfer portal, and that means so much. And it seemed in Charlotte, there were some shots taken at UVA, and I don't know if they were purposeful shots or if they were even meaning to be shots towards UVA. But at ACC kickoff, James Franklin, other coaches were talking about, we don't want to go out and we don't want to just get one and done transfers. We don't want to have a bunch of guys graduate each and every year, and you have to rebuild the program each and every year through the portal. We don't want to go out and just get old guys. We want to get high school recruits, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to have to replenish the roster every offseason. Felt like veiled shots at UVA, who did that thing last year, right? They got a lot of old guys in there. And what did they do? Oh, they just had a really freaking good season that found them in the ACC title game and found them ranked in the final AP top 25 for the first time in what feels like forever. Like, it worked. And people were kind of taking shots at them. And what did UVA do? What did Tony Elliott do this offseason? Going into his 5th year as the head man, he went into the portal and he got a bunch of old guys again because it worked last year. This is their strategy. This is UVA's MO, their identity, whatever it is. They've got over 50 seniors, redshirt seniors, or grad players on this roster. And Elliott is making the bet that it works, and I think it will, because they have added guys that seemingly fit the mold of what a UVA player needs to be under Tony Elliott. Plus, oh, by the way, Bo Perbula, dog. He was a very good quarterback last year at Missouri prior to his ankle injury, which he came back earlier than expected. Now, he struggled a little bit, but when he was healthy, he was a dog. And he is a dual threat quarterback. He refused to tell me what his 40-yard dash time was at the ACC kickoff, which leads me to believe it's pretty darn good. And he's going to give ACC defenses headaches. Number 2, I got SMU. Number 1, I've got Miami. Those are right in line with what everyone thinks. SMU, I voted Kevin Jennings, the SMU quarterback, as preseason player of the year. He finished 2nd in the preseason player of the year voting. I think they can bounce back after what was a little bit of an underwhelming 2025. And then Miami, they're a team that has never won the ACC since joining the conference in 2004. Last year, it looked like they were about to, but then, as Cristobal typically does, some head-scratching losses, right? The 24-21 setback at home against Louisville. Miami was a 13.5-point favorite in that game. And then they had a 26-20 loss at SMU in overtime as a 10.5-point favorite. Cristobal has to avoid those just head-scratching losses again this season. They open up with a bang with the Friday night game on September 4th at Stanford. Then they return home Thursday night game against Florida A&M on the 10th. At Wake Forest for a Friday night game on September 18th, home against Central Michigan, at Clemson, and then they get a bye week October 10th. But you look at the back half of the schedule too. Florida State should be a win. Pitt should be a win. At UNC should be a win. At Notre Dame, That's going to be a great resume boost for their college football playoff seeding. Duke should be a win. Virginia Tech, I'm sorry, Hokie Sands, should be a win. Boston College should be a win. Like, they've got a lot of wins on this schedule, and I don't foresee them being an underdog really in any of their ACC games. And none of their ACC games. Let me not even like waffle on that. They will not be an underdog in any of their ACC games. They might be double-digit favorites in a lot of those ACC games. So Miami, just don't have a cristobal loss. It's that simple. All right. We're going to get a quick break in, step aside, do some ACC team previews on this Thursday morning. Just a piece of housekeeping. Tomorrow, I'll actually be out, but don't worry. We're still going to have Fitz the Bill rolling right along here on Friday morning. We're going to have some recorded segments, some ACC team previews. I took the interviews I did down in Charlotte, chopped them up, reread them, and I have ACC team previews for each and every team that we talked to down there. So I think we've got, 6 coming at you tomorrow? So be locked in for that. Then we've got our sit down with Phil Martelli Jr., the VCU men's basketball head coach, for our episode of Sidetracked, which is tomorrow from 9 to 10. I mean, Lori Warren was fantastic for episode 1. Phil Martelli was equally as fantastic in episode 2. Plus, we've got a ton of great ones in the hopper. We've got Alan Tebow from Ashton Creek Vineyard talking about everything that they're doing down there at Ashton Creek Vineyard. I'll be honest, a little bit of a self-indulgent one. I love wine. We talked with Alan about wine. We got Justin Thorpe, former JMU quarterback, played a year at Virginia State, spent 3 years on Marcus Lewis's staff at Verina, now as a personal trainer, a coach, youth coach around the 804 area. He's coming up for an episode in the next couple of weeks as well. But tomorrow's is Phil Martelli Jr. from 9 until 10. So it's going to be an absolutely electric show tomorrow. So be sure to tune in 8 to 10 a.m. I won't be here. It'll be recorded, but we've got you covered. Do not worry. All right, let's get a quick break in. We'll step aside, be back with some ACC team previews right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond.
You're listening to Fitz the Bill. Don't touch that dial. If you want to talk Braves baseball,
Here comes some late night dynamite here at Truist Park.
there's only one place in town to turn for all the action. 106.1 ESPN, bringing you nonstop Braves action all season long.
High in the air, deep to left field. That's a long gone daddy.
Presented by our friends at Park and Go.
106.1 ESPN on-air interviews presented by the Herman Allen Plumbing Heating and Cooling Hotline with Lennox products that make the air in your home absolutely perfect. Tune in to the Henrico Huddle with Dennis Bickmeyer the last Wednesday of each month, afternoons on 106.1 ESPN or updates online at henricosea.com.
This is advertising material.
Dump trucks, delivery vans, tankers, 18-wheelers, 35 types of commercial vehicles share the road with you every day. When one hits you, trust me, the company's lawyers are already moving. You should be too. Over $2 billion recovered. Alexander Schnarr trial attorneys are ready to fight for you. Call 877-222-6666 or visit alexwins.law for your free case evaluation. Don't wait. alexwins.law.
This is advertising material. Past results do not guarantee future outcomes. Every case is different. Philip George is licensed attorney in Virginia, is responsible for legal work. Office is located in Norfolk.
Enjoy local at Star Hill Beer Hall and Rooftop in Scott's Addition. Catch every big game on indoor and outdoor TVs or on the rooftop bar with a cold drink and city views. Try Star Hill's award-winning beers, craft cocktails, and brew pub bites while watching the game or at our monthly events like Comedy Night and Sunday Crafters Market. Meet your friends, catch the game, or make a night of it when you eat, drink, and enjoy local at Star Hill Beer Hall and Rooftop.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Drip Drop is doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of top college and pro sports teams. Drip Drop is engineered to hydrate faster and more effectively than water alone, with 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use promo code RADIO20 for 20% off your first order. That's dripdrop.com, promo code radio20.
1061 ESPN traffic.
Watch for a road blockage due to an accident on Cedar Lane heading east and westbound from Holly Hill Road to Old Washington Highway. We're heavy on 64 in both directions, eastbound from Staples Mill to the Bryant Park Interchange, westbound from Mechanicsville Turnpike to the 95 Interchange. We've got a wreck blocking the right shoulder on 95 southbound from Arthur Ashe Boulevard. We're heavy approaching the Bryant Park Interchange.
Mornings in Richmond start here. Fitz the Bill. Back now on 1061 ESPN Richmond.
I'm feeling like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving cloud nine, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm riding solo.
Welcome back in. Fitz the Bill here on this Thursday morning. Appreciate you clocking in, making us part of your day. 804-327-0888. The Radke Insurance phone line is open. Mentioned it going into the break. We've got some ACC team previews to bring you. Duke, Wake, and Stanford today. We've got UVA, Virginia Tech, Clemson, so much more tomorrow, as well as we'll be finishing out the ACC team previews tomorrow morning from 8 to 9, then 9 to 10 on Fitz the Bill tomorrow. We've got Sidetracked with Phil Martelli Jr. Great sit down with him, about 45 minutes. We dove into it all. I can't wait for that one to air. One of my favorites. I mean, I also shout out Phil Martelli Jr. for agreeing to sit down and in chat for 45 minutes, an hour is absolutely great. But Duke, Wake, Stanford is how we're kicking things off today. Diving into expectations, my expectations, and some key takeaways from some interviews with the guys that we had down there in Charlotte at ACC kickoff.
Duke is the most hated ACC champion in recent memory, and it's not really their fault. It's because of the ACC tiebreaker rule, right? Winning a game, not making the college football playoff. Should they even have been in that game that they won? I mean, the questions were endless this offseason. And now there's a new rule in place because of the Duke Blue Devils. Impressive. I sat down with linebacker Luke Murdoch at ACC kickoff and talked about being ACC champions and also having an entire rule changed because of it. Now, here's the background for anybody who needs the refresher, right? Duke won the ACC championship game last year, which triggered a new tiebreaker policy discussion around the conference. I asked Murdoch directly if that whole saga lights a fire under his team. His answer was refreshingly honest.
Yeah, I mean, going into the game, we had the mindset of, let's go mess this up, because it's kind of what it was. I mean, obviously, we all see, you try to stay away from social media and everything, but obviously we see it. So, when you make the title game, you see the anger from everyone that other teams are not in it. But for us, really, it just is another game. Going back to the mindset of the ACC championship game. We knew that we had Virginia, and we lost Virginia earlier that year, and we knew that we were going to go out there and we were going to fight, and that we were going to win that game, which we did. So that was definitely that. And then now coming on with the rule change, I mean, it really is. It honestly feels kind of comforting because they changed the rule around us because we won the game, which is kind of pretty cool message, that we went and ruined it. So now they have to change something for us. But besides that, I know we're all really just focusing on the next day and the season. We don't put much effort into the rule change and all that kind of stuff, but it's just pretty cool that they've changed it now around us because of what we did. So
not a lot of players can say that they're the reason an entire conference changed its rule book. Now, winning a championship creates a strange problem. I asked Murdoch how you take that kind of momentum into a new season, and he was candid about the psychology of it.
It's honestly hard. I don't say it's harder than you think, because it's kind of like that. The goal is a national championship, but to get to there is usually an ACC championship. So it's kind of like we achieved that goal. So it's kind of hard because it's a relief after the season. So it almost makes you want to sit back and rest. But I think the coaching staff has done a really good job of implementing and driving home that we need to work harder. You need to work harder because, once you stop working, then everything, it really does recess and you start to take steps backwards. So the coaching staff's done a really good job of keeping us on our toes and knowing that we had to work even harder to get back and not do anything too extra, but just do what we need to do and what we did last year. So
here's where I get concerned about a potential repeat. Duke had just 26 sacks last season after posting 40 plus the year before. The Blue Devils were also plus 10 in turnover margin, but minus 19 in yards per game allowed. Manny Diaz defenses typically rank high in forced turnovers, so there's some hope that continues, but they'll need the defense to stop relying solely on turnovers and actually slow down opponents' offenses. I asked Murdoch who stepped up defensively to fill some of the voids left by players who transferred, graduated, or moved on to the NFL, and he rattled off a long list of young guys who've had some strong springs. He described watching that development in real time during spring ball as something clicking, almost like watching guys grow up in front of you. Murdoch also talked about the grind of film study, saying that's genuinely where games are won and lost for a linebacker. He's putting in 15 plus hours of tape watching himself every week. Duke is underrated here. Looking at the schedule, Duke's got a pretty favorable schedule, specifically the opening slate of it all. Realistically, they could be 4-0, 1-0 in ACC play heading into their first bye week. Because look, Tulane at Illinois, Stanford, William & Mary. Tulane, William & Mary, you should win those games most likely, although Duke struggled against G6 opponents last season. But, I mean, if this Duke team wants to repeat at ACC champions, you've got to step up in a big way during that opening slate. Now, the concern is the back half of the schedule, which is pretty daunting. At Georgia Tech, UNC, they're a dumpster fire. You should win that. Homecoming. At UVA, that's a good UVA squad. Boston College, at NC State, at Miami, Clemson, at Wake Forest. That's a lot more daunting. So I've got Duke 10th in my preseason poll. Expect a bowl game out of this team, but I don't expect another ACC title game appearance, let alone a repeat win. The turnover margin regression combined with a tougher back half of the schedule makes last year's magic very hard to replicate. Manny Diaz has this program in a genuinely good place, but 2026, I think, is going to be a step back towards the middle of the conference, kind of similar to what their record last year may have indicated despite an ACC championship win. Stanford is still figuring out what it means to be a West Coast team living inside an East Coast conference. Coming off a 4-8 season and a 3-5 mark in ACC play, expectations are low. Let's face it, they're low. But there's a new coach, a new quarterback, a new defensive coordinator with NFL pedigree, which is why I have Stanford 11th out of 17 in my preseason ACC poll. I talked to 3 different Cardinal players at ACC kickoff. Here's what stood out. Everything for Stanford runs through the quarterback position, and that's Davis Warren, who transferred in from Michigan. He started 9 games for the Wolverines in 2024, then missed all of 2025, recovering from an ACL injury. He also did not participate in spring practice at Stanford. This team's bowl hopes hinge entirely on how healthy and effective Davis Warren is. I asked Warren what sold him on Stanford during the transfer process. He told me straight up.
I think from the second I met Coach Pritchard and Coach Luck, it was just knew it was where I belonged. Just the type of guys that they are, the way that they look at the game, the way they want to build the program out.
He also talked about the challenge of coming back from that injury and proving he was ready.
Definitely unique, but I know I'd put the work in with the rehab to be like, hey, I'm 100%. If you want me to throw, I can throw. You want me to run, I can run. Like whatever you need me to do, I'm willing to do it. So it was definitely a little bit challenging, but I had the right kind of things in place to show that, yeah, I'm ready to go.
He didn't shy away from confidence either, telling me flatly.
And then I'm just a student of the game. Like I love the nuances of playing the position, and I want to win. Like there's no better feeling than winning, and whatever it's going to take, whether it's throwing the ball 5 times or 50 times, like I'm willing to do what it takes to get a win, and I'm excited to just kind of have that be shown every week in the fall.
New head coach Tavita Pritchard spent the last few seasons as the Commanders quarterback coach under Cliff Kingsbury. Pritchard worked directly with Jaden Daniels. Warren actually trains with Jaden Daniels back home in Southern California, and he told me Jaden Daniels FaceTimed Tavita Pritchard the moment Warren committed to Stanford. Pritchard also played quarterback at Stanford himself and led the Cardinal to that iconic 2007 upset over USC, one of the biggest upsets in college football history. Warren confirmed Pritchard is already pulling clips and lessons from his time coaching Jaden Daniels to help build out this offense. That NFL connection, especially a connection to such a high upside MVP level quarterback, is going to be massive for Stanford down the road. For Stanford and Pritchard, solidifying that begins this season with a good showing. A bowl game would go a long way in helping Stanford speed run this entire rebuild. On defense, Stanford brought in former NFL defensive coordinator Chris Richard, and I talked with safety Jay Green about what that's meant for this unit. Green didn't hold back on expectations.
I expect us to do a lot of great things on defensive as far as scheme-wise. What don't we run? With a DC like Coach Richard, who's from the NFL, we run everything. And then it's like, what can't we do? I think we're strong at both ends, from the front to the back. So I think the defense is going to be dominating this year.
Green also talked about how Richard has changed his entire mindset on defense, saying the coordinator taught him it's not just about doing things right, but doing them right longer than anyone else.
He's changed my mindset, and I think that's the strongest thing. He's taught me, like, the key about playing defense is doing right. But he was like, it's not about just doing right. It's about doing right longer than everyone else. So it's like, with that mindset, it's like, what can't we necessarily achieve? And every time I stand next to him, and even during spring ball, he'd be like, okay, the offense is going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to do this, this, and this. And then, matter of fact, it happens. He turns around, he laughs at me, and he's like, so, yep, told you. So it's like, those type of things, like, I'm ecstatic about.
In the backfield, Micah Ford leads the way as a junior, looking for a breakout campaign after steadily improving the last 2 seasons. Stanford opens with 2 home games, Hawaii and Miami, before the fiercest rivalry in the sport returns, Stanford-Cal. Warren was clear about what that game means to him now that he's the one playing in it, saying it'll be the most important game of the season the week it's played, regardless of what else is on the schedule.
It's intense because I'm playing, like, because you're playing in it, right? Like the Michigan Ohio State game was everything to me when I was playing in it, and now the Stanford Cal game is everything to me because I'm playing in it, And so, like, it's going to be the most important game that week. Obviously, we got 11 games before then to make that game the most important game of our season. But I think I've already realized that the rivalry is fierce, and there's a hatred there. In a unique and special way, just in the same way it is with the other rivalries I've been a part of. So I'm excited to see it and go get a win.
This isn't a bowl or bust season for Stanford, but it is a bowl would be really, really, really nice to have type of season. And that comes down almost entirely to Davis Warren and his health, along with how quickly Chris Richard's defense comes together. If Warren stays on the field, Stanford has more talent and coaching pedigree than their record last year suggests. If he doesn't, it may be another long year on the farm. And looking at the schedule, it's going to be a test for Stanford.
Fitz the Bill on 106.1 ESPN Richmond. Back in just a moment.
Catch every game at Star Hill Beer Hall and Rooftop with award-winning craft beer, cocktails, and brew pub bites. You can eat, drink, and enjoy local at Star Hill and Scott's Edition.
Here's the deal. The government is over $38 trillion in debt, which means the IRS isn't slowing down. And the tax code is complex and unforgiving. So it's not surprising if you're one of the millions of Americans that owe back taxes to the IRS. Unfortunately, they're the world's most powerful collection agency, with the ability to garnish your wages, seize your bank accounts, and even take your home or business. But don't be stressed or worried any longer. We're Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. We have resolved over $3 billion in tax debt for our clients. Our award-winning professionals deal with the IRS every single day, protecting our clients and preparing them for the best possible resolution. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, give Optima a call today.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
106.1 ESPN on-air interviews presented by the Herman Allen Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Hotline with Lennox products that make the air in your home absolutely perfect.
Amy Cox did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. And with that money, she decided to treat herself to an anti-aging red light mask. Will she look like a horror movie villain every night? Yes. Will her boyfriend Kevin be scarred for life? That's certainly a risk. But it's Amy's savings, and if she's willing to risk her relationship for smooth, wrinkle-free skin, well, bye-bye, Kevin. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
For most parents, birthdays mark milestone moments. For families like mine who are living with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, birthdays are a reminder the clock is ticking, and I will outlive my child. Until there's a cure, every second counts. Historically, those with Duchenne muscular dystrophy have not lived past their 20s. Cure Duchenne is changing that. Visit acurecan'twait.org.
Kevin, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
There's so much beyond being able to make every single throw. It's making sure you get everybody in the right play, making sure you have the right checks against pressure, making sure your team manages the clock. There are so many different elements beyond just dropping back and throwing a ball. And when it comes to the Patrick Mahomes of it all, that's where the winning shows up.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. 106.1 ESPN weather.
Cedar Lane is completely blocked due to an accident heading east and westbound from Holly Hill Road to Old Washington Highway. Watch for a wreck blocking the left lane on 95 southbound at Arthur Ashe Boulevard.
Richmond's Morning Sports Talk. Live, local, and back on 106.1 ESPN Richmond. Fitz the Bill. Powered by Ironclad Coffee and Baking Company. News.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Or snooze.
News or snooze here on this Thursday morning. Number one, sources probe into clips. Kawhi could go into 2027. This is utterly newsworthy and utterly stupid. And apologies for being so abrupt and aggressive with that. But come on, man. Come on. How is this going to go into the year 2027? That makes no sense. This was opened up around the first week of the season? The year was 2025, right? It was the tail end of 2025, maybe right at the beginning of 2026 when this was opened up. And now we're saying it's going to stretch into 2027. ESPN sources say the league's investigation, whether the Clippers skirted the salary cap, may not wrap until 2027 if the two sides can't agree on findings or a settlement. One, why do the two sides have to agree on the findings of this case? That makes no sense to me. And okay, a settlement, I guess, but if he's not going to agree to a settlement, then just punish him, Adam Silver. This is your job. Get the information and punish. That is, if there is something to punish. If there's nothing to punish for, then let's move on. Let's keep things rolling. But if there is something to punish for, why is he not punishing him? The union stance, if they're going to take it straight to arbitration if the NBA tries to hand down penalties without solid proof on a case the Clippers have denied for roughly 10 months. At the center of it all, as we all know, Leonard's $28 million endorsement deal, the no-show endorsement deal with now bankrupt Aspiration, a company that separately had a 23-year, $300 million deal with the Los Angeles Clippers, one that Ballmer was associated with as well. Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers. Everything points to this being a cap maneuvering, cap skirting type of move. But of course, we may not know. And heck, 2027, why not push it out to 2030? Why not? Just keep pushing it out. Who needs closure on any of this? And this is where I get really annoyed with this. If Kawhi was sticking with the Clippers and he was just doing what he was going to do with LA, then I really wouldn't care, right? All right, keep stretching it out, whatever. But now there are other teams getting involved with this because they want the services of Kawhi Leonard. The Toronto Raptors, right? They sent a trade to LA. Both sides agreed. Kawhi thought it was done. Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, multiple picks. We're going down to Los Angeles, and Kawhi was going up north of the border to Toronto to play with the Raptors yet again after his first, 8-month stint essentially with the Raptors that brought him a championship. That got put on ice pending the investigation's outcome because the NBA has said and made it clear now that whatever punishment that Kawhi gets, it's going to travel with Kawhi. So whether that's him being suspended for a season, whether that's him being suspended for 25 games, whether that's him having his contract voided in its entirety, that would follow him. So the Raptors would have to essentially take on the punishment that comes with Kawhi if they were to absorb his contract. It's the contract that's going to get punished and not necessarily the Clippers. The Clippers are also going to get punished, don't get me wrong, but that's why the Raptors have decided to back out of this. And now the Raptors, who thought that this was going to get wrapped up in the next couple of weeks, in the next month or so, they said, all right, let's just put on hold this trade just in case something bad happens. We don't want to be on the hook for Kawhi, and we give up Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick and multiple picks. So let's just hold pat on it real quick. This should get shored up very shortly. But now, apparently not. Apparently it's going to be another 6-7 months. Commissioner Adam Silver has publicly pushed for a resolution before next season kicks off. Yay. Kicks off, and possible discipline under the CBA ranges from team fines, draft pick forfeiture, and personnel suspensions. All right, cool. Whatever. Nico, the UCLA head coach, the UCLA quarterback, excuse me. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name. Iamavalea. He said Chesney hiring made UCLA the easy pick. Nico says he and the new head coach, Bob Chesney, hit it off instantly, which made his decision to stick with UCLA simple. I'll one-up that a little bit here, Nico. It's probably because you didn't have many suitors out there. People blamed you for the falling apart of UCLA and everything that went wrong with the Bruins last year after the very public transfer away from Tennessee last offseason. So that also probably made UCLA the easy pick. But I want to dive into the Bob Chesney of it all, former JMU head coach, got the Dukes to the college football playoff. He is now over at UCLA, and it seems to be that he is getting a lot of good pub with the Bruins because of this Nico situation, because of how he handled things at Big Ten Media Day. And they're a trendy pick to, as Bill Plaschke said it, you've seen him on Around the Horn and a lot of ESPN stuff. He writes for, I believe, the LA Times out there in Los Angeles. He wrote a column, and it was titled, Bob Chesney Will Do the Unthinkable at UCLA. Win. There's some hope in UCLA. And I've got a hot take when it comes to the Bruins. If Bob Chesney can turn around UCLA in Westwood and he can get the Bruins as a top half team in the Big Ten, Bob Chesney has the capability, hold on to your pearls, Bob Chesney has the capability of usurping USC as the premier SoCal university. Like, UCLA is poised with their alumni base, with their camp, with everything. UCLA, if Chesney can get this done, can become the premier university in Southern California. Yeah, I'm saying that, over the University of Southern California, over USC. UCLA is a sleeping giant, and if Chesney can wake him up, that team's going to be dangerous. He did a lot. He did more with less at Holy Cross. He did more with less at Salve Regina. He did more with less at Assumption. He did more with more at JMU, and now he's going to have to go do more with less again at UCLA. He's getting a little bit ahead of it with Nico, his quarterback, deciding to come back. Jury's still out on if he's good or not. Chesney did say that retaining his quarterback was one of the top priorities he had walking in the door, and understanding that Nico had zero interest in uprooting again. Chesney brought five coaches, 10 players with him from JMU, handled the QB spot delicately given the sensitivity around it. That's according to a report from ESPN. So, I mean, I'm excited to see what Chesney does over the next couple of years in UCLA. All right, the third headline, Giants neighbors, quote, looked good in first practice since knee injury. Man, I don't care. I don't care. Sure, he better look good. Like, the Giants need him. Neighbors practiced in individual drills yesterday in West Virginia, his first team practice since tearing multiple knee ligaments in week 4 of last season. The Giants are holding their training camp in West Virginia. Coach John Harbaugh called it encouraging and said Neighbors, quote, looked good, though he stopped short of committing to a week 1 timeline against Dallas. As it stands now, the expectation is that he will not open the season on the physically unable to perform list, the PUP list, because if he does open that up on the PUP list, he has to miss at least the first 4 games. So the hope is he will be ready within those first 4 games, and he won't have to start the season on the PUP list. Notably, though, Malik Neighbors wasn't wearing a knee brace, and again, has not been placed on the PUP list. So that shows you that they are trending towards playing him early on in the season, at least in the first month of the season. This is Neighbors' first real reps with Jackson Dart at QB. The two never really worked together last season since Neighbors went down in Jackson Dart's very first start. And Malik Neighbors played with Russell Wilson when Russ still had the job. So Neighbors put up 1,204 yards as a rookie, 7 touchdowns as well in 2024. Then that injury came, wiped out his sophomore year. The Giants need him, but I really do not care if he looks good. This is all training camp talk, right? Like, Patrick Mahomes looks good. Yeah, he's not cleared for contact. All right, if we had a game tomorrow, he's not playing. If we have a game tomorrow, Malik Neighbors ain't playing. So, cool, he looks good. I want to see what he looks like come week 1 with full pads on. and he's catching bullets from Jackson Dart. That's when I start caring about Malik Neighbors. The Giants also are a team that I've got one eyebrow raised at. It's starting to smell a little bit like the Raiders from last year. The Raiders, right? Like, oh, they've got an adult in the room. Things should turn around. And then you just like, oh, but don't look behind the curtain. And then we look behind the curtain. There's Malik Neighbors still hurt. There's Cam Scatabo doing Cam Scatabo things. There's Jackson Dart, who went to the blue medical tent like 11 times in 6 starts last year. Like, there is potential for a catastrophic blow up in New York. If what happened to the Raiders last year happens with Big Blue, that's going to be fun to talk about. So I'm keeping an eye raised over there on the old New York Giants. All right, let's get a quick break in. We'll step aside, be back to quickly wrap up this first hour of Fitz the Bill right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond.
Fitz the Bill, Richmond's morning sports talk. Back in a moment.
Looking for a great spot to stop by for great food and cold beverages? Make Shepherd Street Tavern your new go-to destination. Frosty craft beers on tap and Cajun influence.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you feel embarrassed, trapped, maybe even ashamed just because you own a timeshare? Well, I'm here to tell you you're not alone. Chuck McDowell here, the timeshare cancellation guy. I get over 3,000 complaints a week from all kinds of folks that feel the same way you do. Honest people, teachers, veterans, grandparents, all losing sleep over a timeshare they can't get rid of. That's why 15 years ago, I founded Wesley Financial Group to help people take their lives back. Today, I run Wesley with my 2 sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we would want our own family to be treated. That mindset has helped us cancel over 50,000 timeshares from people just like you. So if you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-330-6363. That's 800-330-6363. 800-330-6363.
Stop smoking. Alex Goen patented hypnosis.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing. I don't have any cravings. You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Why so effective? The only stop smoking method in America proven useful by the U.S. Patent Office because it reprograms your subconscious. Alex Goen breaks your connection to cigarettes, coffee, stress, driving, even other smokers. No cravings, irritability, or weight gain. Cigarettes no longer own you. Walk in a smoker, walk out free. Only $59.99 or your money back. Stop Smoking Seminar Monday, August 17th, Hilton Garden Inn, Colonial Heights, 8 p.m. Weight loss, 5:30 p.m. Or Tuesday, August 18th, Comfort Suites at Virginia Center Commons, Glen Allen, 8 p.m. Weight loss, 5:30 p.m. Sign up at alexgoen.com. Goen. That's alexgoen.com.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
There are very few players in the history of the NBA that we would say skipped steps when it comes to contending and winning a championship. Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. That's where we're at. And all of those guys are top 10 players all time. That's where this thing feels like it's trending with Wemby.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
Looking for a great spot to stop by for great food and cold beverages? Make Shepherd Street Tavern your new go-to destination. Frosty craft beers on tap and Cajun-influenced menu specialties such as crab rangoon deviled eggs, barbecue tofu bites, or our signature Devil's Triangle hot chicken sandwich. Now under new management with the same laid-back vibe indoors or outside on the patio. Shepherd Street Tavern is located at 2922 Park Avenue in the Museum District. Check out our Facebook page for the latest specials.
You're listening to Fitz the Bill, Richmond's morning sports talk show on 106.1 ESPN Richmond.
On a train back to Boston and we're jumping the gun and I'm telling you, baby.
Welcome back in. Fitz the Bill here on this Thursday morning. I'll say this. If you're watching the stream, you know who's controlling the music this morning. A little different than when Alan's controlling the music. So you're just getting a peek a little bit into what the playlist sounds like on the drive-in to work. I've been on a big Stella Lefty kick. Stella Lefty. Very good. Very good. I just discovered I'm also Olivia Dean guy. I don't know if they've got a name because like Ella Langley is an Ella fella. I don't know if they've got one for Olivia Dean, but I'm telling you, for Olivia Dean, sell a lefty, that is bumping on the playlist going into work. Sets the vibe right for the morning. As we wrap up hour number 1, we're getting you set for hour number 2. Chip Patterson, he'll be joining us. He's from the Cover 3 podcast. It's from ACC Kickoff. We sat down with him at ACC Kickoff right off of Radio Row to kind of chat about everything that we were seeing, we were hearing around ACC Media Days. So that conversation with Chip will be next. Pat Jaggers from the Motor Racing Network. He's not joining us tomorrow. No. He's joining us today at 9:30. You don't want to miss that. Pat Jaggers from the Motor Racing Network. You know why it's today, not tomorrow? Well, because tomorrow we've got a recorded show. So you'll be hearing ACC team previews tomorrow, and you'll be hearing Sidetrack with Phil Martelli Jr. in hour number 2 on the Friday edition of Fitz the Bill. All right, keep it locked right here, 106.1 ESPN Richmond, where Richmond talks sports. Hour number 2's coming up right around the corner.
106.1 ESPN on-air interviews presented by the Herman Allen Plumbing Heating and Cooling Hotline with Lennox products that make the air in your home absolutely perfect.
I love a girls' weekend, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin, thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
You can usually find me in the kitchen, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm still in the mix with Skyrizi to treat my joint symptoms.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe at 4 months.
Or if you're an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
This is Freddie and Harry on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
If y'all only knew how many teammates did not get along outside of the court or whatever field or whatever sport they're playing, y'all would be amazed. I'm telling you right now. So that's where the professionalism has to come in. It's about, can those guys, okay, we're not the coolest off of the field, but can we go out here and make magic on the field?
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Question: would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? And would you seat them in a car seat that's not the correct one? Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. More info at safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Your home for Richmond Spiders athletics all year round. W291CL Lakeside Richmond. WURV HD2 Richmond. We are 106.1 ESPN. You're listening to the second hour of Fitz the Bill on 106.1 ESPN.
Welcome in. Hour number 2 of Fitz the Bill right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond. We appreciate you clocking in, making us part of your morning. We've got Pat Jaggers joining us at 9:30 from the Motor Racing Network. We've got Chip Patterson from the Cover 3 podcast joining us here in just a minute. But we also want you guys to call, text in on this Thursday morning, 804-327-0888. That's the text line. That's the phone line. You can get right on in and have a conversation with us on this Thursday morning. RadkeyInsurance.com to get started on your free quote today. Over there in Charlotte, North Carolina at ACC Kickoff, I've been keeping this conversation in my back pocket for a day where it fits. And with us kicking off today's show, doing an ACC poll breakdown, right? We got the official ACC preseason poll from the media. That came out about 48 hours ago. We got that. We compared it against the ballot I submitted in that all. We had similarities with Miami at the top, SMU at number 2. Duke was similar at number 10, and then some real changes throughout, right? I'm 3 spots higher on UVA than the general media consensus is. They've got them at 6. I've got UVA at 3. I'm 3 spots higher on NC State than the general media consensus is. I think NC State is a real dark horse contender just to win the ACC as well, because I think CJ Bailey, dark horse again to win the Heisman. I'm a little lower than consensus is on Louisville. I'm very low on Clemson. The general media consensus has them at 4. I've got them at 9. Ain't no way they're finishing in the top 5 of this conference. Ain't no way. What did Clemson do this offseason to get better? I'll wait. You can tell me. They didn't do anything to get better. Clemson makes my blood boil if you can't tell. I'm really high on Stanford too. You heard our ACC team preview with the Stanford Cardinal over there in hour number 1. I've got faith in Davis Warren. It hinges on him. And I think he should be able to play pretty darn well under Tavita Pritchard, who was the quarterback coach with Jaden Daniels, who is a quote unquote, you heard Davis Warren say it, a Stanford man, but he's got him to learn from. He's got Andrew Luck to learn from. And then that defense, it's being coordinated by Chris Richard, who former Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator, had some success in Dallas as well with Mike McCarthy. I think Stanford might shock some people. The general media consensus has them dead last in the ACC. I have them 11th. That's a 6-spot difference. Biggest discrepancy among all teams. And then the team I've got last, you guessed it, UNC. Ain't no way UNC is going to do anything of note with everything that's going on around them. With the Michael Lombardi situation, their general manager has been placed on paid leave due to I think it's a HR complaint filed by a former UNC front office employee. That doesn't align well. And oh, by the way, they're also being investigated by the College Sports Commission. UNC is. That's the body that handles NIL compliance and enforcement. That's according to reporting from Pablo Torre. So 2 things going around the UNC campus right now, and neither one point to a successful football season. So with all that as the backdrop, I thought it was the perfect time to air this conversation we had with Chip Patterson down there at ACC Kickoff. Chip does a great job with the Cover 3 podcast. If you're looking for entertaining, insightful college football information in a fun podcast, the Cover 3 podcast is where you want to go. Chip is one of the co-hosts. So this is our conversation with Chip from about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, down there in Charlotte at ACC Kickoff. We're here with Chip Patterson, one of the hosts of the Cover 3 podcast, ACC Kickoff, as we roll right along. We're off Radio Row. We decided to take in a new view of it all. Chip, thank you so much for taking some time and chatting here at ACC Kickoff.
Absolutely. Good to be with you. And this is a good time because I don't like playoff expansion as a talking point. I don't want to hear about Congress and what they're trying to move through in the future college sports. I want to talk about what's happening this fall on Saturdays. And it feels like when there's a player in front of your face, it's like I can't really be thinking about what's happening 10 years down the line. Let's talk about this season.
Now, the one thing I have run into talking with some of the players is the new 5-for-5 rule that is or isn't a thing. And I'm like, all right, well, you're a senior, right? And you've got, I guess, technically another year after this. And they're like, yeah, I got 2 more years. And I'm like, all right, that's the only thing I have to wrap my head around. And other than that, it's fantastic because I've not even heard like the Protect College Sports Act come up or whatever, Save College Sports Act. I haven't heard that rumbled around Radio Row yet. It's been a breath of fresh air.
Jim Phillips had his stumping at the Commissioners Forum, but that's it. It's okay.
We were doing interviews down here. We had availability, so I missed the entire Commissioners Forum, and I was like, we're just gonna get the quotes that come out of it. We're gonna wait for the ACC tiebreaker, which is where I do want to start. The third bullet point has garnered some attention with overall body of work. Then it came out that just means they're using a metric from Sports Source Analytics, something that College Football Playoff uses. Do you like it, hate it? Which side of the aisle? I feel like you have to pick a side. It feels like
I like it.
Yeah.
Here's what I did not like. And this is the thing. I don't know if I like it as much as I did not like the way that opponents' combined winning percentage played out, tracking the ACC title race last season. The idea that a team could win a game, go home, and then have to root for another team somewhere else. The thing I like about, You're not going to take me inside what I assume is basically a power rating.
Yeah.
And the power rating adjusts for strength of schedule, adjusts for margin of victory, adjusts for, overall team strength. Like, I think that is a way so that you control your future.
Yeah.
Opponent's winning percentage, you don't control your future. So I did not like that.
Yeah.
So I'm okay moving away from that into something where it's your head-to-head results, it's your winning percentage, and it is your rating and ranking. And I believe that the official line from the ACC in some other interviews was that if they had used that tiebreaker, it would have been Miami and Virginia playing for the ACC championship. Those are two teams in the top 25. That is a sensible ACC championship game.
Wait, so what you're telling me, Duke and UVA
It
wasn't
was-
sensible?
The 7-win team in the championship in a season where 7 teams won 9 games was the thing that was so confusing. Was it the best of the best? No, but hey, look, Duke, to let it be settled on the field, Duke won it, so you tip your hat to them for sure.
And as a JMU alum, I was rejoicing that Duke
there you
somehow
go.
found a way to win that game and allow 2 G6s into the college football playoff. Looking around at all the banners that we have hanging up, all the teams represented here in the ACC, who are the 2 you think at the end of the year will be squaring off in the ACC championship game?
I think it'll be Miami and SMU.
Okay, so you're on the Miami SMU kind of train.
Yes.
That's starting to build some momentum.
You could talk me into Louisville, but I think that I just am going to take what I know of Kevin Jennings, what I was impressed by in terms of he was so very obviously hobbled and still leading them to wins in very big games.
Mhm.
And there's a consistency problem with SMU, and there's a consistency problem with Louisville. And one of those two, I think, are more than likely going to end up playing Miami. So if I've got to put my chip somewhere, I'll put it there. NC State would be the only other one, and that's mostly schedule-induced. And the pushback is like, hey, you could argue the Wahoos are schedule-induced too, that they had an opportunity against a very favorable draw and they took advantage of it. The Louisville Cardinals in Jeff Brom's first year, like they had a very favorable schedule. They took advantage of it. They made it to Charlotte.
The ACC, so it's a 17-team league at this point. and-
Syracuse won 10 games after having the easiest draw, and they took advantage of it.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at here. Like, the schedule makes it where, like, you have these random teams popping up, and all of a sudden, like, we were talking with Wes Durham earlier, and he said his dark horse was Pitt. And we looked at the schedule, and it was like, yeah, I mean, that's an easy schedule for them. And it feels like with the way the ACC just has it all kind of playing out that we are going to have every year, like, these random dark horse teams that pop up because they just get the most favorite. They avoid the Miamis, the Clemsons, the SMUs, the big boys at the top, and they're able to kind of be a big boy in a little pond.
Listen,
I guess.
it's another layer of chance where injuries are always going to be a layer of chance. Transfer portals hitting or not hitting is always going to be a chance. So it is without a doubt a factor because of the oversized league. You know, like World Cup fever, you're always going to have a soccer comp, but like in one of the big 5 European leagues, you play everyone twice. And that's why the champion doesn't even need a playoff.
Yeah.
They've proven it, right? It's like now we almost do need things to be able to let it play out in a big bracket because we cannot say based on the wins and losses at the end of a college football regular season definitively who is better because the difference in schedule strength is so great.
You mentioned NC State, favorable schedule, but head coach Dave Doran has been kind of on a literally a media tour, but he's been singing the praises of CJ Bailey to whoever would listen, and he seems to be one of the top returning quarterbacks. He got me bought in on CJ Bailey, and I didn't really need to buy much more stock. I liked him. But do you think he is poised in the way that Coach Doran is kind of hyping him up to be the top quarterback in the ACC?
I think the tools and the talent will allow him to be in the conversation. Whether he emerges as the top quarterback is going to come down to results.
Yeah.
Like I know Georgia Tech, they were ranked in the top 10, so it's a top 10 win. Georgia Tech quality-wise, top 30 team, top 20 team last year when they took them out? Yeah. It was great, but it was a really big win. You need to have those like affirmation, we went up against a good team and CJ led us to the victory. He puts together a couple of those. How about this? If CJ Bailey goes to Nashville and has a huge performance against Vanderbilt, an SEC team, and they get a win, he'll come back to Raleigh and people will start beating that drum.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that one. I want to turn our attention to Virginia Tech. We caught up with the Hokies earlier today with James Franklin, and just off the field, right? They've got all of this momentum, the new AD hire, all of the massive amounts of donations that they've been getting recently. Do you think year one in Blacksburg for James Franklin is they need to show it on the field and get a ton of wins?
Whoa.
See, that,
yeah. So there's a narrow realm of actual results that I think will happen. It's like between 6-6 and 8-4. And yet, I think there are 6-6 seasons that have Virginia Tech fans excited, and there are probably 8-4 seasons that have Virginia Tech fans being like, "It was a little fluky," and that's why it really is going to come down to aesthetics. Like, I do not think that the team, he might like the depth and he might like the development that he's seen since he took the job, but I don't think the team is ready to say we're a top 4 team in the ACC. So if you're not ready to say that, we can't really call you a title contender.
Yeah.
But again, if they're not in a bowl game, I think it's a disappointment. I think year one is a failure. So that's what I think. That is my opinion. My analysis is I think if the Hokies, based on everything that's gotten them to this point, keeping Brent Pry, and that keeping Brent Pry meant keeping some really, really good players that could have gone pro or could have gone somewhere else. So I'm kind of all right, if they're 5-7, that's not good.
Yeah.
So somewhere between 6-6 and 8-4, and again, there could be a 6-6 where you like the way it looks, or an 8-4 where you don't, but that's sort of the realm we're talking about.
It feels like, and you can even kind of lump UVA into this a little bit, where UVA had their success on the football field last year, and they've now reinvigorated their fan base. And in today's day and age, the transfer portal and NIL, you have a reinvigorated fan base. All of a sudden, you have this war chest you didn't have 2 years ago.
More wins and recruiting, anything like that.
And it just feels like it's this cascading effect. And for Virginia Tech, it's all right, they have all this momentum. Everyone's so excited about the Hokies that if they go out and they go 5-7, they're just going to be it's this again?
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be different. And then there goes the money. And in today's day and age, it seems like it's such a fickle beast of it all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like the players who stayed, who I think were good. I like a lot of the additions. I think that it is a schedule with difficult stretches, which makes it interesting to see whether or not they're going to take advantage, especially early, to be able to stack some wins and have some goodwill and some confidence going into the back half of the season.
You just came out of Dabo's press conference where you're saying he talked for 15 minutes?
Yeah, it was 15 minutes with just 3 questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's coach speak.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's why he's one of the best.
Yeah.
But Clemson's a team that, he went up on the podium, right? And he said, we stunk last year. We're sticking with our guy, our homegrown quarterback. And if this doesn't work out, they'll rake us over the coals. Yep. Had a couple of really good soundbite moments for a Clemson team that is coming off of a bit of a down year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's painting it light. It was a bad year for Clemson. How do they bounce back this year? Because the ACC, in my opinion, needs them to bounce back.
Oh, sure. The Clemson Tigers, I think, led the ACC in revenue payouts, financial revenue payouts. They are the biggest war chest in the ACC. They are leading the way right now with all the success initiatives and the television initiatives and the way it all broke down. They were right up there at number 1. So they can't be 7-6. They need to be a top 25 team. They don't need to be a top 3 team or a top 4 team, but they need to be right up there with some of the other things that Dabo Swinney talks about in terms of where they stand over the last 10 years, over the last 15 years, and where they are in 1-score games, fourth quarter wins, all of those things that were part of the Clemson identity that went wrong last year. That's where it just needs to flip back to the other side and go right. I think there's something to be said for 9 NFL draft picks only winning 7 games, that underperformance is out of the system, because that was a couple years of looking for them to be that kind of team.
Yeah.
And they never were. So What does it mean now that Sammy Brown takes over and is a leader of the defense? What does it mean with Chad Morris coming back, Bryant Wesco not hitting the portal, TJ Moore not hitting the portal? Like, they got good players. So I'm going to hold back on saying this is capital T the year.
Yeah.
But I think they'll be all right.
With the ACC, kind of state of the ACC, they're such an interesting conference because you had Miami last year make it to the national championship game, but they were the only representative of the ACC in the college football playoff. For this year, it's very important, but how important in your mind is it for the ACC to get 2, maybe 3 teams into the college football playoff?
No, they're not getting 3 teams in the college football playoff. And I don't think it's important that they get 2.
Really?
No, it's way more important on what they do. They only got 1 team. Here's the deal.
Okay. You might be the first person that has said it's okay if they get just 1.
As long as that team wins. So here's the deal.
Okay.
First year of the 12-team playoff, they get 2 teams in. Both those teams are one and done. Nobody thinks about them again.
Yeah.
Miami's the last team in the field. They go to the national title game. Everyone comes out thinking that the ACC and Miami are okay. Far more important what you do in the playoff than how many teams you get in.
I like that take. And do you think it's Miami again making a deep run in the college football playoff, or is it SMU? If I'm basing it off of your ACC title, you know what I'm saying?
I think Miami will be better prepared to win playoff games than SMU would. SMU beating Miami in an ACC title game is how the ACC could get 2 teams in.
I love it. I think that's the perfect mic drop to finish it out, Chip. Appreciate your time. Enjoy your last day tomorrow here at ACC kickoff, and enjoy the rest of the offseason as we gear up for the regular season.
Sounds good. Y'all be well.
Fitz the Bill, Richmond's morning sports talk show. Don't go far.
If it don't flow, then it don't drain. If it backs up every time it rains, remember, if it's not working, call Gherkin.
Back in 1976, there was no Angie's List or Google reviews to find the best plumber in town. You'd go ask your neighbor, and around Richmond, they'd tell you call Tommy Gherkin. Today, you can go online and see Gherkin Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling's hundreds of 5-star reviews. And if your neighbors have used Gherkin, you can ask them too. You'll find that even though Tommy Gherkin's plumbing company has grown, their rapid response commitment and dedication to fixing your plumbing and HVAC issues right the first time hasn't faltered a bit. So you know what they say, if it's not working, call Gherkin. 741-6630 or visit gherkinplumbing.com. After 50 years, Gherkin Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling has stayed true to their roots. They've just grown a bit, and the reviews online now too.
Remember, if it's not working, call Gherkin.
Make Shepherd Street Tavern your new go-to spot. 2922 Park Avenue in the Museum District. Daily menu specials and frosty craft beer served daily.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-793-8074 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-793-8074. That's 800-793-8074. What do you have to lose? Call 800-793-8074. Again, 800-793-8074.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $3 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You're tuned into Fitz the Bill, Richmond's only local morning sports talk show on 106.1 ESPN Richmond. Powered by Ironclad Coffee and Baking Company.
What are you saying?
Excuse me?
What?
Excuse me?
What? Say what? What the are you saying?
I'm the Boston Celtics. I'm swooping in today. I'm destroyed for what happened with this Jaylen Brown trade. Brad Stevens, who we've always taken as a man of his word, right? From dating back to Butler, that is a stand-up class act. Look at the guys that he hired from a coaching perspective and how good they've been, right? Ime Udoka, Joe Mazzulla, Will Hardy was in the mix there. Like, this guy has brought a great organization to Boston, taking over for Danny Ainge. He said specifically at this press conference when he got Paul George, we don't want two players taking up 70% of the salary cap. You currently have two players taking up 70% of the salary cap for the next 2 years. Go give the deal you got for Jaylen Brown to the Clippers. Take Kawhi. Who cares what happens after that?
I mean, he says things. He says things there. Evan Cohen there from Unsportsmanlike yesterday's show. Evan Cohen, typically I agree with for the most part, but right there, when I heard him say that the Celtics should trade for Kawhi Leonard, I audibly said, "Huh? What are we saying? What are we saying? The Celtics should trade for Kawhi, man? Like, he does address my biggest pushback, and he's right in the fact that Brad Stevens did say at the press conference where they were announcing that they traded Jaylen Brown, Stevens said that he doesn't want two guys taking up 70% of the salary cap. Well, Jason Tatum and Paul George are doing just that, right? Like, and in fairness, the Giannis trade that started all of this also would have done that. So Stevens really put his foot in his mouth on that comment, because regardless, whether it was Giannis, who they were really, really trying to go for, that started this entire mess, that trade would have put him over 70% of the salary cap between two players. And now Paul George and Jason Tatum combined for that. So that Evan Cohen is right in that, where he said he didn't want to do it, but they are still doing it. So you could trade for Kawhi and it really wouldn't change much. Here's my issue, and there's a couple of them, right? He says the Clippers, you got to give the Clippers, if you're the Celtics, give them the deal you got for Paul George and all of that, whatever that terrible trade was. But the funny thing is, I don't think the Los Angeles Clippers would take that deal. I think if you gave the Clippers Paul George and a couple of draft picks, they would not take it because they do not want to absorb the Paul George contract. It was widely regarded around the league that a Paul George trade would need to include at least one, maybe even two first rounders in order for a team to take on that ugly, ugly contract. And yet the Celtics essentially just traded Paul George and Jaylen Brown straight up, if you kind of use that math as well in there. So I don't think the Clippers would actually take Paul George a first for Kawhi. Like, I think they would want more to absorb that Paul George contract. And I think LA would rather wait this out, keep Kawhi on the team, eventually take the Raptors deal whenever that comes to fruition, and just kind of wait this out. But this is the interesting thing, though, as we continue. If the aspiration deal now draws into the season, which is something Adam Silver desperately does not want, but he also desperately wanted this to be wrapped up in a few short weeks. Remember what he said at the start of the NBA Finals? He wanted this to get wrapped up in a couple of weeks. That was at the start of the NBA freaking Finals, man. And here we are, July 30th, about to flip the calendar to August. And now we're talking about how this aspiration deal could stretch into 2027. And if it does draw into the season, it's going to bring up a really good question. Does LA deal him, or does LA keep him, and does LA play him? Because, I mean, let's look at it, right? Like, LA, if they deal him, they're going to have to probably take pennies on the dollar, because you are then trading an asset that could potentially be voided. Like that's the part of all of this that is so interesting. You could trade him and Kawhi's contract could get voided within 2 weeks of that trade happening, which is why the Raptors refuse to finalize this trade. They want to wait until the investigation wraps, because the Raptors don't want to be on the hook for any punishment that comes with Kawhi / the Kawhi contract. Essentially, changing jerseys won't get Kawhi out of this. So the Raptors are sitting on their hands and they're saying, we are going to wait. But I disagree with Evan about this because I think for a couple of reasons. Boston fans, one, would revolt if you traded for Kawhi, got rid of Brown, have two guys making 70% of the cap or more, and then one has his contract voided and essentially walks for nothing, which is a possibility. I think fans would absolutely revolt. The kernel that I agree with the most here with Evan, though, is I think this is going to get crazy. And there likely will be a team that's going to try and trade for Kawhi and cut the line and take over what Toronto has offered. Because right now, it all depends, right? It boils down to this. Do the Clippers want him? Do the Clippers want to play him? What is the relationship like between Kawhi and the Clippers? If that aspiration deal is true, I don't see why this would be a sour relationship whatsoever. The Clippers skirted the salary cap in an effort to sign Kawhi, and they've kept him happy and paid over the last, I don't know, how long has he been in LA? 5 years? 5 years or so? Like, I don't see why that relationship would sour. So, I mean, if I'm LA, you could just play him. You could also deal him, but if you deal him before this aspiration deal is done, you're probably going to be taking pennies on the dollar. I don't think so much pennies on the dollars, though, that you're willing to absorb a terrible Paul George contract, which is really where I disagree with Evan from Unsportsmanlike on all of this. There's just no way that the Celtics are going to be able to get off that Paul George contract. Like, you absorbed arguably the worst contract in all of sports. Maybe the worst contract in all of sports. It is for sure the worst contract in the National Basketball Association. Full stop, right? Like, the Clippers aren't absorbing that. Pennies on the dollar, but they ain't taking negative pennies on the dollar. But this is going to get crazy, this whole Kawhi sweepstakes, because there's going to be a team that's going to get desperate, and they're going to offer something to the Clippers that I think the Clippers are going to have to seriously consider. And the Clippers are going to have a real come to Jesus meeting with themselves to figure out how they want to approach this upcoming 26-27 season if the aspiration deal does not reach a conclusion by the start of the season. Because you've got two options. You play him or you deal him. It's really that easy. And if you deal him, you're going to take a lot less than what a Kawhi value truly is. But say what? The Celtics should trade for Kawhi, just give them the deal you got Paul George with. That ain't happening. Clippers ain't doing that. Also, I think Boston fans would revolt. Like, truly, I think if Boston traded for Kawhi and he ended up getting his contract voided or even suspended for like half a season, you can't tell me that Boston fans wouldn't revolt. They'd be looking down at Philadelphia, Jaylen Brown, LeBron James, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe. They'd be like, man, it would just be longing in the eyes. But yeah, that ain't gonna happen. Boston fans would overthrow Brad Stevens. It would be the Boston Tea Party 2.0, but it would be called the Kawhi Leonard Tea Party. I didn't think that one through. I didn't think that one through. All right, let's get a quick break and step aside. Pat Jaggers from the Motor Racing Network. He'll be joining us next. Talk a little bit about the Brickyard 400 that we saw this past weekend as Corey Heim got his second career win in the Cup Series. The rookie won at San Diego on the road course. Now he's won at the Brickyard 400, put himself into the Crown Jewel discussion. We'll talk about Crown Jewels. We'll talk about so much more as NASCAR has a bye week, a rare bye week this week. So we'll talk about some of the big picture conversations that are happening around NASCAR. That's with Pat Jaggers coming up next.
Richmond's only local morning sports show. Fitz the Bill. Back soon.
If you want to talk Braves baseball,
here comes some late night dynamite here at Truist Park.
There's only one place in town to turn for all the action. 106.1 ESPN, bringing you nonstop Braves action all season long.
High in the air, deep to left field. That's a long gone daddy.
Presented by our friends at Park and Go.
This is advertising material.
Businesses have a responsibility to keep you safe. Patch the pothole, fix the broken step, light the parking lot, mop the floor, and put up a sign. When they skip those basics and someone gets hurt, that's negligence. If you slipped, tripped, or fell on someone else's property, Alexander Shinard Trial Attorneys want to hear from you. Call 877-222-6666 or visit alexwins.law for your free case evaluation. alexwins.law.
This is advertising material. Past results do not guarantee future outcomes. Every case is different. Philip George is licensed attorney in Virginia, is responsible for legal work.
Office is located in Norfolk.
Enjoy local at Star Hill Beer Hall and Rooftop in Scott's Edition. Catch every big game on indoor and outdoor TVs or on the rooftop bar with a cold drink and city views. Try Star Hill's award-winning beers, craft cocktails, and brew pub bites while watching the game or at our monthly events like Comedy Night and Sunday Crafters Market. Meet your friends, catch the game, or make a night of it when you eat, drink, and enjoy local at Star Hill Beer Hall and Rooftop.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you feel embarrassed, trapped, maybe even ashamed just because you own a timeshare? Well, I'm here to tell you you're not alone. Chuck McDowell here, the timeshare cancellation guy. I get over 3,000 complaints a week from all kinds of folks that feel the same way you do. Honest people, teachers, veterans, grandparents, all losing sleep over a timeshare they can't get rid of. That's why 15 years ago, I founded Wesley Financial Group to help people take their lives back. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we would want our own family to be treated. That mindset has helped us cancel over 50,000 timeshares from people just like you. So if you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-330-6363. That's 800-330-6363. 800-330-6363.
Richmond wanted local sports talk in the morning, and we Fitz the Bill. Back now on 106.1 ESPN Richmond. And now, Pat Jaggers.
Welcome back in. Fitz the Bill right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond. You heard it. Pat Jaggers from the Motor Racing Network. He's joining us. Good morning, Pat. How are we doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Hey, we are doing fantastic. How's the bye week treating you so far?
It's been interesting because my bye week hasn't even began yet. I'm still working, and what's crazy is, our drivers are enjoying their time off, but right now I've got 2 more days to go of work here for the fine folks at the Motor Racing Network, and then I am setting sail to Seabrook Island. Out there by Kewah, a little west of Charleston. So I'm excited, man. It's been a long year. I mean, look, I'm ready. I'm ready for a break. We've had the good. We've had the bad. There's been a lot of highs. There's been a lot of lows. It's been a really weird year for the NASCAR community in a lot of different ways. It's been a very interesting season, a lot of unpredictables, and a lot of stuff off track, too, that has just made this I don't want to say a grueling year, but a year that I think a lot of people are really just ready for this break and this time off. Because, look, we love what we do. I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to wake up every day and write content and talk with drivers, crew chiefs, and whatever it may be along those lines of the Motor Racing Network, and to talk about motorsports. But, look, everybody needs a break every now and again.
Preach. You're right on that one. You are very right. As I just came back from a week-long vacation last week at the Outer Banks. You're right. And it's this time of year where bye weeks and vacations kind of feel right. And for NASCAR, you guys don't get a ton of bye weeks. Like you guys at the Motor Racing Network, not to gas you up too much. I don't want to hype you up too much here, Pat, but you guys are doing the work week in, week out, always on location, doing a ton of stuff. And so, yeah, you deserve that bye week. Now that we have this bye week that the drivers are enjoying, you're still working through. It gives us an opportunity, though, to look back at what the season has been so far. A couple of crazy storylines, right? Tyler Reddick with the red hot start to the season. He's kind of not tailed off, but cooled off after being literally on fire to start the year. Denny Hamlin has now taken the lead in the standings, has an 84-point cushion between him and Tyler Reddick. Ryan Blaney in that third spot. He's the only Ford that's been consistent this year. As you look back on that first half of the season, I could keep going. What are some of the biggest storylines on the track that stick out to you?
On the track, we started the season, like you mentioned, with Tyler Reddick. I think on track, the biggest story coming out of Indianapolis, that it is now beyond evidence that this young man is the next big thing, and he's going to be, the real deal. He already is. Corey Heim, when you go out there in a limited schedule, in the NASCAR Cup Series, running for 2311 Racing, he's going to run full time next season. You go out there and you win 2 races within your first
15
12,
starts?
Let's say 12 to 15 starts for the team, and you're not even running full time. It's just a limited schedule. Let me look this up real quick, and I should have done a better job of having this information in front of me. This is just piss poor planning on my part. But regardless, when you think about Corey Heim, I want to give you an analogy while I get this information out there. So just think about this. Anthony Davis, 2012, right?
Ooh.
When he goes and plays at Kentucky. And we had just seen Anthony, let's go back to about a month or 2 months at the University of Kentucky. It was evident that guy was the real deal. It was beyond evident that he was going to be something special. And I just want to paint this picture about Corey Heim. We're 8 races in to the season with Corey Heim. Keep in mind, we've had on the year, we're somewhere around, I think we're around 18, 20 races in, whatever it may be, right? Corey Heim has only raced 8 events on the season and has won twice.
Wow.
At a track NASCAR has never been to before, in San Diego on Naval Base Coronado, brand new track, brand new location, has to essentially hold off his teammate, who at that time was the best and hottest driver in the sport, Tyler Reddick, who we mentioned earlier. And this past Sunday, Corey Heim holds off Joey Logano and others to win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This dude has already won at 2 extremely difficult and 2 vastly different racetracks in just 8 events this season. You know, I talk about it all the time. You can see it in sports when somebody has it. And that's why I use the Anthony Davis example when he's at Kentucky in 2012. He went on to win a national championship with Kentucky. He went on to be the number 1 overall draft pick. And that kid went on to be a NBA superstar. But even before Corey Heim's NASCAR success he's had this year, we go back to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And when you run, when you run 3 full-time seasons and win 26 events in those 3 full-time seasons, you're probably a dog.
You're probably good.
Yes, you're probably going to be something special. So the question was, it wasn't ever if, it was always when it was going to be Corey Heim's opportunity. And right now in the NASCAR Cup Series, it is Heim time.
How has that impacted? I had Lori Warren on, the Richmond Raceway track president, kind of talking about it from like a marketing perspective, but we've got these young guns that have now kind of taken the reins of the sport a little bit. At least they're dominating the conversation. It's Heim time. He's won 2 races. Hocevar finds himself in the headlines, it seems like, every week, whether it's flipping off Corey Heim, whether it's going on these Instagram rants, which I think there are some validity behind what he's saying on Instagram, whether it's him just kind of being nicknamed Hurricane. Hocevar, like, you've got young guys taking the stage in NASCAR. How do you view that? Is that something that you think is beneficial for the sport?
Was the rivalry between Cale Yarborough and Richard Petty beneficial for the sport? Was the rivalry between Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Jeff Gordon beneficial for the sport? Yes. I'm not saying that these 2 young drivers are going to be that, okay? I'm not saying that they're going to be in the same ranks of the best to ever do it. But when we think about rivalries and the lasting impact that has had on the sport, it's been a very big deal when we can and have them. And it's been something to talk about. It's been drama. It's had intrigue. I mean, let me ask you this. You know, when Magic and Bird had those rivalries in the NBA, was that good for their sport? Absolutely. Anytime you have a polarizing, compelling rivalry in a sport, and it's something to break down, and not just to break down, but it has everybody locked in. When those 2 are on the racetrack around each other competing, people are dialed in and locked in. And you want to know why? It's not just the fact that it's a rivalry. This is a rivalry that NASCAR has needed for a long time. We talk about this all the time. Yeah. Who are the guys that don't like each other? Where is there, you know, the intrigue, the drama,
the hatred that we are used to in the early 2000s where, I mean, it wasn't just Jeff and Earnhardt, and those guys didn't hate each other, but Tony and Jeff didn't get along. Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt Sr. had their battles, Ricky Rudd and Dale Earnhardt, those two dudes hated each other. I mean, there's a lot of guys, Brad Keselowski and Carl Edwards, they had their issues. Kyle Busch and half the field had their issues. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there with rivalries that back in the day, that's what really drove this sport was the competition element, right? And the fierceness of that guy brings out the best and the worst of me, but you bet your ass I'm going to beat him on Sunday. And we've been missing that. And we're getting that right now with Corey Heim and Carson Hocevar. And this thing has got history. Let's go back all the way to, I believe, 2023, okay? Corey Heim, Carson Hocevar, overtime, Phoenix. Carson Hocevar wrecks Corey Heim, costs him a championship in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, could be a two-time champion, right? Now, fast forward, these two are competing at NASCAR's highest level, and they're not giving each other any breaks at all. And anytime they talk, over the weekend, Corey Heim said it best. He was asking the media after the win about Carson Hocevar flipping him off, and Corey goes, "What place did he finish today?" And the media member goes, 9th. And Corey Heim goes, "You guys really love to talk about somebody that doesn't finish up front." And I was like, damn, drop the mic, son. Like that kind of stuff. We've been missing that kind of heated rivalry in the sport. So whether it's marketing, whether it's social media, I mean, you chop that bad boy up, you put the bad blood in a high right reel between those two, and you plug the hell out of that thing, man. That's how you get people locked in. That's how you get eyes on your sport. And that's how you get people passionate about what you're doing, is when there are fierce rivalries that are fueled by competition and competitiveness. And we have that with those two drivers. So to answer your question, it's absolutely fantastic. And by the way, both those guys are young, man. They're both young, good-looking dudes. And I tell you what, that doesn't hurt when you're trying to get more different demographics watching your sport.
Yeah, Hocevar 23, Heim 24. So if this trajectory continues, both, I imagine, we'll be having some words for each other on pit road in what will be it's an exciting rivalry. You mentioned all of the different rivalries. Rivalry helps sports. LeBron and Steph. Rivalry helps sports. It pushes it along, and that is something that NASCAR has been missing. And I think it's something that I love about Hocevar. I love this about the Hocevar Heim stuff that we've seen here up until the bye week. Like this has been a fun little storyline to follow. And next year when Heim's full time, it's going to be even more electric when we get this week in and week out. As we look ahead now to the final couple of races in the regular season into the chase, is there anything you're keeping an eye on as we get ready for the postseason in NASCAR?
There's a couple of things. You and I we've talked about this year after year after year. We start the season and a manufacturer gets off to a rough start. One manufacturer really paces the way once we get to kind of the halfway point in our second bye week of the season. And, the last few years, it kind of seems like it's been Ford, right? I remember 2 years ago, we were talking about Ford. Oh my God, they got to figure it out. They're off to such an awful start. And then, this year as well. Oh my God, everybody except Ryan Blaney's a bunch of duds. What the hell's going on out here? Everybody calm down. These teams figure it out. We've seen it time and time after again. They will figure it out. There's been a lot of conversation about Ford. I'm more concerned about Chevy, to be honest with you. There's a lot of drivers out there for Chevy that usually have a lot better seasons than what they're having. Kyle Larson being one of them, William Byron, a lot of guys in the Chevy camp, usually Ross Chastain. There's a lot of guys in that Chevy camp that are not performing up to their potential, and they're feeling the pressure. But I think as time goes on, they'll get better. Now, there's just been so much conversation around Ford, and I'm like, we're not talking about how bad these Chevys have been. I mean, that's just something to watch for me. There's been all this conversation about Ryan Blaney's the only Ford that's been consistent. He is the Messiah for the Ford manufacturers. All right, everybody chill the bleep out, okay? Joey Logano just won at North Wilkesboro. Okay, so we can there's now another person that's becoming a factor for the Ford manufacturer, Ryan Blaney's teammate, Joey Logano. And Joey also, unbelievable crew chief call by Paul Wolf to take 2 tires. They, in the previous stint at Indy, they short pitted, saved all their fuel, got massive track position, and was battling late for the win there with Christopher Bell and Corey Hahn. That was awesome to watch, man. But once again, they're starting to figure it out. And we've talked about this as the year goes on. These great crew chiefs, these great drivers, the guys who worked the hardest, like Joey Logano, guys are going to figure it out. And sometimes you got to make internal changes. Sometimes you got to dig deep. And sometimes you got to have hard conversations with each other about whether or not this is working anymore. I mean, there's been a lot of heat on Paul Wolf this year. And by the way, his son Cade races at Millbridge and is an absolute dog out at the dirt track at Millbridge. But anyway, just something to keep in mind here. Joey Logano finishes 3rd at Indy, wins North Wilkesboro. And, I was talking to Joey at the hauler with his PR guy, Drew Taylor, and one of my guys, Chris Wilner, this past weekend in Indy. And he's like, look, we're going for 10th in the point standings. And if we can get there, if we can continue, we think that's super obtainable. We get there, we feel like we can make some noise of where we're trending right now. And we've seen it. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. That's what I'm watching. What happens with Joey Logano? We know this about Joey, man. When the light shines its brightest, Joey Logano typically finds a way. And that's what you got to love about that Penske team, man. Him and Ryan Blaney, they're a couple of dogs. They got that clutch gene in their DNA, and that's why both of them are NASCAR Cup Series champions. When we think about clutch, those 2 guys definitely come to mind, and that's what I'm watching. Who comes out of this break, guns blazing, ready to go, with momentum, and who's most likely to make a run once we get to the chase? And I've got my eyes on both those drivers. Big questions I have: Tyler Reddick. Does he, turn this thing back around and come back to the dominant force he was early in the season? I don't know. That's not a great sports radio answer, but we saw this with Christopher Bell last year. He wins 3 races in a row, and the rest of the season. So it's one of those things where with Tyler Reddick, I wonder if that's the same scenario. And then Denny, it's steady Eddie, man. That dude's not going anywhere.
4 wins, 12 top 5s, 14 top 10s, no DNFs. He has led the most laps of anyone on the grid with 877. Feels like a pretty good season for Denny. Can he cap it off with the thing that has evaded him his entire career? That's always going to be the question. This doesn't matter. What only matters with Denny is that championship, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. 179 stage points, second most on the grid behind only Ty Gibbs, who's had himself a really, really solid season as well. He's locked himself into the chase, but I'm excited for these last couple of races. I'm excited to get us going into the chase as the postseason for NASCAR is nearly here. Pat, really appreciate your time on this Thursday morning. Have a great rest of your weekend and your bye week, and enjoy your vacation. I know you need it.
Absolutely. And race fans, Richmond is just a few weeks away. Make sure you guys go to NASCAR.com/tracks and you guys go out there and start purchasing those tickets for Richmond Raceway. We had a darn near sellout last year. Some would say it a sellout, but it was very, very close to be. It looked like, I believe it was listed as a sellout.
It was.
But regardless, make sure you guys get your tickets. That's going to be a fun one. Talked to a lot of drivers in the garage this past weekend about Richmond, and a lot of drivers look forward to that racetrack. That is one of the toughest short tracks on the schedule. It's super fast, and there's been a lot of emphasis and a lot of discussion about hype around that track. It's going to be a fun one.
Hey, Pat, I'll see you here in Richmond, in RVA for that race. I'm looking forward to it. Have a great rest of your week.
Absolutely. See you guys.
There goes Pat Jaggers of the Motor Racing Network, taking some time out of his Thursday to chat. He mentioned the goal there for Joey Logano is to get into that 10 spot in the standings. Right now, Christopher Bell occupies the 10 spot. Only 64 points separate Christopher Bell in 10th and Joey Logano in 13th, who jumped up. Joey Logano jumped up 2 spots after his top 3 finish at the Brickyard. So Joey Logano, all signs pointing up right now for him in his Ford machine as he, I mean, Pat said it, right? Like when the lights are the brightest, Joey Logano raises his best. He got a couple of championships under his belt because of the setup of the old playoff system. He seemingly always rose to the occasion. And looking to do it again here as they return to the chase for the cup type of playoff standing. So exciting stuff here down the home stretch of the regular season for NASCAR. All right, let's get a quick break in. We'll step aside. We'll be back to wrap up this Thursday edition of Fitz the Bill right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond.
You're tuned into Fitz the Bill. Back in a moment.
If it don't flow, then it don't drain. If it backs up every time it rains, remember, if it's not working, call Gherkin.
Back in 1976, there was no Angie's List or Google reviews to find the best plumber in town. You'd go ask your neighbor, and around Richmond, they'd tell you call Tommy Gherkin. Today, you can go online and see Gherkin Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling's hundreds of 5-star reviews. And if your neighbors have used Gherkin, you can ask them too. You'll find that even though Tommy Gherkin's plumbing company has grown, their rapid response commitment and dedication to fixing your plumbing and HVAC issues right the first time hasn't faltered a bit. So you know what they say, if it's not working, call Gherkin. 741-6630 or visit GherkinPlumbing.com. After 50 years, Gherkin Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling has stayed true to their roots. They've just grown a bit, and the reviews online now too.
Remember, if it's not working, call Gherkin.
I love days like these at the pool, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. I'm ready to make a splash with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza. Skyrizi is a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. At 4 months, most people saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe, and many were even 100% plaque-free. People also saw significant improvement in psoriasis symptoms of pain, redness, itching, and burning.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Now there's nothing on my skin thanks to Skyrizi, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
We're the best team in America. I think houses should burn. Really? Should we start with yours? You idiot.
We are back, baby. We are back. We are back. We are back.
The Golics are back. Returning August 3rd, 10 to noon Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Lose weight. Alex Goen patented hypnosis.
This is Lisa Stofan. Heard the weight loss hypnosis hype? I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. I went to another session to deal with some other problem foods. I lost another 10 pounds. I brought my husband. He lost weight, and his cholesterol and blood pressure improved.
The only weight loss method in America proven useful by the U.S. Patent Office because it reprograms your subconscious. Engineered to kill cravings, emotional eating, late-night fridge attacks. Full on half the food so you lose the weight and keep it off. 10 pounds, 30, whatever your goal. Only $59.99 or your money back. Weight loss seminar Monday, August 17th. Hilton Garden Inn, Colonial Heights, 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking, 8 p.m. Or Tuesday, August 18th. Comfort Suites at Virginia Center Commons, Glen Allen, 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking, 8 p.m. Sign up at alexgoen.com, G-O-E-N. That's alexgoen.com.
Here's the tale of the daily Medfield. Same old pharmacy, same old bill. But those prices kept rising higher still.
Till the savings Wrangler rode in. Cool as can be. Tap Good RX. Saving massively.
No plan? Don't matter none. Up to 80% off. Deals are done.
Discounts hitting harder than Ma's chili. Dang. That one little laugh does all the rest.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
Check Good RX. Good RX is not insurance.
The modern college student is looking for education that leads to real opportunity. Here's president of Strayer University, Dr. Antoinette Farmer-Thompson, with more.
Today's students want an education that gives them practical skills and clear pathways into fast-changing industries. And with the emergence of AI, students expect their education to help them keep pace with AI advances, prepare them to responsibly shape and drive its adoption within the workforce.
To learn more, visit www.strayer.edu.
Amber and Ian.
I was surprised that there were Steelers players who were surprised, because that was the article that we have right now on ESPN.com, where apparently inside linebacker Peyton Wilson, he admitted that he was a little shocked when he showed up to the facility and ran into Aaron Rodgers.
Last year you showed up in late June, so maybe he was surprised that it was this early.
There you go.
Not
I
that
guess.
late.
Amber Indian, weeknights at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
No national voices, no syndicated takes, just Richmond's own morning sports talk. Fitz the Bill on 106.1 ESPN Richmond.
Oh, another free one. Thanks, dog. You always hook me up.
Another hour of the fun stuff on deck.
Another one of your nonsensical rambling stories.
And another round for everyone on me. I don't want to hear another peep. Okay, all right, here's another one.
Another thing before we get up on out of here on this Thursday morning, a little bit of housekeeping. I'm really excited for this, actually. Man, I'm going on a little minor league road trip, mini minor league road trip. Nothing too crazy. But tonight, I'm actually driving down to Charlotte, and we're going, me and a friend, going to a Gastonia Ghost Peppers game. The Gastonia, Ghost Peppers, just outside of Charlotte down there. But they're an indie ball team. And then from there, we go up to Knoxville to see the Knoxville Smokies, over to Asheville to see the Tourists, then go to the Spartan Burgers, the Hub City Spartan Burgers in South Carolina, which is about an hour away from Asheville. But I'm super pumped for it. But that means tomorrow it's going to be a little bit of a different Fitz the Bill than what typically we do on a Friday. That first hour is going to be a bunch of ACC team previews. I've recorded them. I've got them ready to go. And so those will air from 8 to 9. And then from 9 until 10, it is Sidetracked episode 2 with Phil Martelli Jr. We sat down with the VCU men's basketball head coach and chatted through his career, the issues of scheduling as a mid-major, some things about the buyout language in his contract, where he sees himself in the next couple of years. If his dad, we covered a ton of bases over the 45-minute conversation. So you can hear that in its entirety tomorrow from 9 until 10. If you miss it right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond, don't worry. We post it right at 10, right when it finishes airing live. We post it to YouTube. If you want to watch the video version of it, that's on YouTube. And then the audio podcast is on Apple Podcast and Spotify Podcast. So you can find it if you miss it and listen back to it on demand. It is a really good interview. And then next up, we've got Justin Thorpe. He's a former JMU quarterback, Virginia State quarterback. He was on Marcus Lewis's staff at Verina for the past 3 seasons. He's joining us for the following Friday. Then Alan Thibault. He'll be joining us from Ashton Creek Vineyard the next Friday. Then we've got Kai Laird from T-Box the following Friday. We've got those booked out, but Sidetrack tomorrow is one you do not want to miss. If you want to follow along with some of the adventures of this minor league baseball road trip, you can follow along on Instagram, Fitz the Bill, ESPN RVA. My friend Tim and I are going to have an absolute blast. Gastonia Ghost Peppers tonight, the Knoxville Smokies, the Asheville Tourists, the Hub City Spartan Burgers. It's going to be fun. Maybe some Fitz the Bill food reviews from some of these concession stands across minor league baseball. You can find all of that on Fitz the Bill, ESPN RVA on Instagram. That'll do it for Fitz the Bill. A recorded version of the show will be with you tomorrow starting at 8 a.m. You don't want to miss it. Between now and then, we've got the Lake Lewis Jr. Show and the Mid-Major Match Show right here on ESPN Richmond.
Your home for Richmond Spiders athletics all year round. W291CL Lakeside Richmond. WURV HD2 Richmond. We are 106.1 ESPN.